Hey guys, welcome back to Orchid Hunters Australia. I'm in Coopracambra National Park today, trying to collect a little bit of data for some stakeholders and to hopefully find some epiphytes. Epiphytes are typically prone to poaching, so it'd be nice to hopefully get some numbers and some populations recorded out here and to create a bit more of awareness, let people know what they're looking at, what they're thinking of taking if they are taking it, and try to prevent a bit of poaching, and also just have a bit of fun out here too. Obviously I've got more than enough kit on, I've got plenty of gizmos and gadgets to have a bit of fun, and if my intuition's right, I'm following course 220 degrees south, and I'll hit a few nice rainforest style sort of gullies there. So. Alright, no worries babe. Love you too. Still in radio range, which is a good thing. Yeah, got a fairly decent hike. I think it's going to test my fitness. I'm really crossing my fingers. Hopefully we find some good stuff. This is new territory to me, this cool, warm, temperate sort of rainforest. I'm in a nice little shady gully at the moment. So yeah, we might get stuck into it and see what we can find.
I want to make the most of the resources that I find along the way because it's getting pretty hot and I'm getting a little bit low on water already. So I find a cherry ballard in fruit, which I make good use of, and the plant next to it contains cyanide, so I choose wisely.
Well, I'm not sure how, but I made it to the top of the mountain. It was a pretty hard slog. There was a few nice woodland gullies to sort of follow up into it, and a couple game trails as well. But towards the end of it, it got pretty steep and pretty thick, and I'm sitting on the peak now. It's pretty windy, it's a nice cool breeze, and I don't know how it snuck up on me, but there's a pretty mad rock formation up here, and I'm hoping that we might be coming into sort of epiphyte territory. I know the southern side of this mountain, there should hopefully be a few rainforest gullies in there, and with all these rock formations starting to pop up, yeah, we might see a few lithophytes or something. So go for a walk around it and see what happens.
As I start to walk across the base of the cliff, I notice a whole bunch of different signs of animal activity. Here in a depression, there's a few feathers and also a couple of millipedes. Things started to get a little bit eerie here when I found a mummified kookaburra in a cave, and then not long after that I found remnants of a galah skull also. Next there's a collection of scats approximately 10 centimeters long by 1.5 centimeters wide, composed of fur and bone fragments. Although it's a bit hard to see here, I find several caves and ledges with bones placed on them or in them about the size of a chicken drumstick. After considering this evidence and looking at the management plan, it may be reasonable to consider dogs, dingoes, foxes and spot-tailed quolls inhabiting this area frequently. A sandy area starts to give away a few more clues with a few, what may be footprints and diggings. Again, reviewing the management plan and the evidence, it may be feasible that long-nosed potoroos are also inhabiting this area.
I think I've come across our first orchids here. One could be more of a prostrate sort of fern sort of thing. I'm not too sure. Epiphytes are a bit of a question mark to me. I'm familiar with dendrobiums and a few others, but yeah, this one's a little bit new, but it could be promising. And I found something else which, if I remember correctly from my days in Queensland, I think it was commonly called a pencil orchid. So we'll get some footage of this a bit closer up.
Having done a bit more research at home now, I can say that this is Docrylia striolata subspecies striolata, or the streaked rock orchid, and in Victoria is listed as rare according to the Department of Sustainability's Environment Advisory List of Rare or Threatened Plants in Victoria 2005. On this instance, we've missed it in flower, but we can see they were present recently from the large glossy fruits. These aerial roots in white absorb moisture and attach the orchid to its rock or tree. The long smooth green pencil-like bulbs are leaves connected by a wiry rootstock. Images provided demonstrate, as the name suggests, it has red streaks on the sepals. A curious fact is that the flowers are known as non-respunate, which means upside down. The dorsal sepal points towards the ground, as evident in this image. If it was like the majority of orchids, it would look like this, with the dorsal sepal facing up and the labellum down and out. But for some reason, like a few other species, it is upside down. As I walk along the base of the cliff, I find numerous orchids dotted along the ground, the same Docrylia species, and I presume that these have fallen off the cliff as a result of bird activity, searching for grubs and other things in the rich medium, the moss substrate that the orchids are growing in.
I've just made it to the river, and it's a pretty welcoming sight. I spent the night in the bush, and this is pretty much the only place I wanted to get after being stuck without water yesterday. And now there's an abundance of it, which looks pretty good to me. Haven't ended up where I wanted to be, and I don't think I've got the time or the resources to do it. But at least now I've developed a familiarity for the area, and I become familiar with my kit and know what I can improve, what I need, what I don't need. And pretty much, I don't know if you can see it, but that mountain range over there, we want to be on the other side of that. There's a couple gullies in there, that'd be nice. But to be quite honest, I'm going to blow up an inner tube and try float down this river, see if I can get into some reception, get some creature comforts happening. So the idea is to travel downstream. It's going to be longer, but I'm hoping it's going to be a bit easier. If there's this much water all the way down, it should be pretty cruisy, and I think I've done a good job at whipping up a raft, so we'll see how it goes. It took me 8 hours to travel about 3.5 kilometers across or over the mountain range yesterday, and that was intense. I'm hoping the 18-kilometer journey downstream is going to be a little more comfortable. We'll see the pace. I've got the GPS on, so we'll see what it takes us, and obviously I've got a bit of sun protection because 18 kilometers in stream there's going to be a lot of light reflecting off it, and I don't want to get sunburnt, so we'll see how we go.
This is a minor example of rock formations along the Genoa River, but the folding is still impressive and tests my ability of comprehension. Tetrapod fossils have been found here, which are said to be the oldest in the world, being the first vertebrates to ever walk on land. Overall, I travelled across about 15 kilometres of waterway to get to my pickup point, and this was possibly the most hardest part. Although it was fun, it was very trying to get through all the rapids and the rock pools and the long stretches of river with all the equipment. I come across a large number of water dragons on this trip, as well as evidence of water rats, and also freshwater crayfish inhabit these areas. This crayfish appears to be attracted to the camera, more so the rattling noise that's coming from a piece of plastic on the side of it. Well, this concludes our trip through Coopracambra National Park, but I still want to have a closer look at a few epiphytes, so I head back to the Dandenong Ranges closer to home. It might be worth explaining that an epiphyte is a plant that ultimately grows off another plant. It's not a parasite, it's a plant that just grows off it and doesn't have a negative impact. This colony of Helmut orchids is growing off the tree fern in an epiphytic manner, although they're generally terrestrial and grow in the ground. Coryxanthes grumula, or the mountain helmet orchid, is a recently described helmet orchid which I could not find a lot of information on. In 2009, the Worldwide Fund for Nature reports that over 1,000 new species of plants were found in Australia over the past 10 years, including 165 orchids. In addition to the helmet orchids from before, here we can see some maroon hoods forming a colony in a tree fern. They're typically a terrestrial species growing in the ground, but here they seem right at home also. A tree fern trunk is a fantastic medium for orchids to grow in. They grow quickly vegetatively and form these colonies that we've seen. They also provide an aerial position for the orchids to disperse their seeds to other fertile locations. That's all we've got for this episode. I hope you've been enlightened on epiphytes and the sensitive nature of them. Remember, if you'd like to contribute to Orchid Hunters Australia, you can like the Facebook page and post your finds to share with everyone else.